For the first time you do it, you will find only darkness, as it were a cloud of unknowing. You do not know what you do not know, except that you feel in your will a purpose towards mystery. Whatever you do, this darkness and this cloud are between you and understanding, and hold you back from seeing it all clearly by the light of understanding in your reason, and from experiencing it in the sweetness of love in your feelings. And so prepare to remain in this darkness as long as you can, always seeking, for if you are ever to feel or see, so far as is possible in this life, must always be in this cloud and in this darkness, the cloud of unknowing. That's from a mystic text of Catholicism, and you're probably wondering, why am I reading that to begin an episode of Behind the Speed, which is about video games? The reason why is because of one word: mystery. When you come into a video game, you don't even understand what's going on most of the time. You may understand the basic controls, you may understand the basic mechanics, but they work in concert together and they do things that go even beyond the developer's understanding. If you ever watch on IGN's channel, devs react to speedruns, you'll see their minds get blown by how the engine, how the work of their mechanics, how the artistry that they put in goes so far beyond just zeros and ones that it becomes something else entirely. It becomes art, it becomes something personal, and above all, it is filled with mystery. Our guest today is going to highlight mystery in video games in a way that still blows my mind, that I can hardly comprehend, and also give us insight into the fact that there's still so much that we don't even know about this game. It's not even able to be put into words. We don't even know what we don't know. And going beyond that, this episode goes a little bit deeper into the insight of the runner. And also, for a moment, I actually take off the mask of Speck and become who I really am, and that's Elijah. And I become a little bit more vulnerable, a little bit more introspective. And at the very end of the episode, I become so rattled, I don't even know how to end it. And I'm not going to lie to you, at the end of this episode, I actually broke down in tears from the sweetness and the answers that this runner gave. They are a wizard, a master, a true mystic, if you will, in video games, and understanding the mystery behind it, and understanding that there's so much more to learn, and that no matter if it's the world, if it's religion, if it's video games, that we'll never know everything. And that's the fun part, and that's also the frustrating part. And so we keep pushing with love and passion to understand and learn how games or the world or religion works, because it gives us a purpose and it gives us life. And that's what this episode gave to me. So I hope that you enjoy it. You enjoy this episode. So please, ladies, gentlemen, and humans, please welcome Savestate. Welcome everybody to episode 4 of Behind the Speed. I am your host, Speck, and today I have the privilege of interviewing our first non-Sonic guest. They are a world record holder in Ocarina of Time, both the N64 version and also in the Brawl demo. In Smash Brothers Brawl, you can play a demo of the game, and they have the world record in that, which blows my mind. They are a pioneer in glitch hunting, and again, the first person ever to beat the demo of Ocarina of Time within the Brawl demo, which is amazing. Welcome to the show, ladies, gentlemen, and humans, Savestate. What's up, Savestate?
Hello. Quick amendment. Previous world record holder.
Previous world record holder. Wow.
Unfortunately, not holding any currently, but that doesn't mean I'm not working on some stuff in the meantime.
Ooh.
Recently, I started running a little bit of glitchless unrestricted, which is like glitchless, but you're sort of bending the rules a little bit more than you would expect.
Okay.
We only get Shadow and Spirit in the child dungeons, so we skip 3 temples as adult in that run, despite not doing any glitches, like from the community agreement of what we consider a glitch to be. It's very cool, very fun, and that's sort of been what I've been focusing on recently. So the other runs that used to be records ended up getting beat in that time.
Wow.
But it's been really cool so far. It's always a changing landscape with who's got what records.
Yeah, and like I saw like 3 days ago you uploaded a bunch of like new
strats or like cool little strategies in the game that were I watched and I was like, this is mind boggling that this game that's so old and already so busted is so it still feels really unexplored. Would you say that Ocarina of Time is like a solved game, or would you say it's still got a lot less?
No. It's if Ocarina of Time is one thing, it's never going to be solved. There's always something new to be found. Every time you think it's like that's it, there's nothing more to be found, we always find another thing, and it just keeps pushing it. And that one new thing opens doors that leads to new things, and it keeps on going. It keeps on going. But yeah, those strats that I uploaded the other day were actually for a meme run, which is all dungeons SRM for child. So all child dungeons only specifically. So it's like the mini version of what we're watching here.
Gotcha. And how long is that is that run? So like 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's approximately 20 minutes. The LOTAD, which is a low optimized tool assisted demonstration, instead of like a task. The LOTAD ended up being about 18 minutes, so I'd add like a minute on top of that for human error for like a good run. So about 19 minutes.
That's crazy. I mean, I know it's not like the perfect TAD, it's a LOTAD, but still, like, it's crazy that you're still within that minute margin of just even like the demonstration itself. That blows my mind. I've watched like a dozen explanations of Ocarina of Time speed runs, and I may just be stupid, which like I may be. No, it's fine. But I really can't wrap my head around a lot of the stuff that happens in this game. Would you say that it's like something that's really complex that you kind of have to quote unquote study to understand, or is it like, or maybe it's okay if you call me dumb, or is it like, no, it's actually way more intuitive than you think?
It's there's levels to it, like levels of understanding. Like on the surface level, whenever like regarding SRM, stale reference manipulation, which is one of the primary glitches for this category we're watching, which we use to set up a lot of the run beforehand. The primary thing to know about that is whenever Link is running around with like an invisible item in his hand, he's modifying memory elsewhere. And we, depending on how we modify memory, we're able to sort of just mix and mash code and like change properties in ways that were never before like supposed to be done, which allows us to do crazy stuff like beat all the dungeons in, what was this, less than 40 minutes? Was it 36 minutes?
Yeah, 36. That's I mean, this game, I played the 3DS version, but still, same thing applies, I think, because I wouldn't have done anything speedrunning wise. It took me like a month to beat it, and I was like casually. So the fact that this game can be beaten so fast, it just boggles my mind. And so, but how, going with SRM and all the things that happen in this game, what was the journey in finding these things? How the hell do you go from like okay, Link can hold invisible thing, this is a kind of funny visual, like I would just think that's a visual glitch, not even like helpful at all. How did that go from cool visual glitch to when Link turns at this rotation and has SRM stuff, blah blah blah, and now the game is done in like less than 7 minutes? How did that evolution happen?
Oh goodness. So it's sort of like you poke around, you find something that's weird, and then when you find that little hole and like you start digging into it, you see how deep it goes. That's pretty much there is to it. And whenever glitches and stuff first found SRM with Boomerang, because that was originally how it was found, was by boomeranging a gold Skulltula token in the Forest Temple, exiting a door, and then re-entering. And then that would like make the boomerang do SRM. And it ended up overlapping with where a door was in memory. So a door got attached to the boomerang. And then we were like, okay, that's crazy. Now let's see if we can do it with stuff that isn't an actor, and like try to make the boomerang overlap stuff that isn't necessarily perfectly aligned with an actor, and so it's just editing arbitrary code or like arbitrary data in memory. And yeah, and then from there it's just sort of like history. It was like, all right, how else can we do this? What are the different ways that we can exploit this? And it just gets deeper and deeper, especially with something like this big, because the gates are just wide open with all the different ways you can apply this type of glitch. And right here we got SRM in the run.
Okay.
Just performed the invisible bush crossing the barrier, and now I'm modifying the bush angle so that whenever we drop it, I was modifying the invisible rock angle, unloaded rock rather, so that whenever we drew a bush, whenever I say draw, I mean like make it show up on screen.
Gotcha.
There's a bush over by the maze, the sword maze, and whenever we ran by it, it was on screen for 1 frame, and in that 1 frame, it was running our modified properties in the bush that made it load the title file. It's hard to sort of like make it succinct and like easy to deliver, but it's such a big glitch. You can only remove so many details without making it total nonsense.
Right. I think that's why some things are confusing. You know, people are like, okay, there's so many things to explain. I need to like put it down in like 3 seconds or less to explain the whole entire thing. When I think you could definitely go more in depth with it. So that's nuts. So is essentially the bush like when you load in? So what I'm hearing is that when you load in the bush, you're loading in code, and that's kind of what's happening essentially in my
whenever I was holding the invisible rock and I was spinning in place, I was actually modifying attributes for that bush that we drew, so that whenever we did make the bush show up on screen, it ran the code that we modified it to run. That's
nuts. Sorry, go ahead.
And so now that we're in the Lost Woods, it's just sort of like where we just do all the SRMs back to back. And these are all just modifying different parts of memory depending on where we drop the fish. And so like we'll load different rooms and like load different actors before dropping the fish, which will change the allocation of the code that the fish creates when it spawns. And then we call that code, and depending on where the fish code was allocated, we modify different parts of memory. And this one in specific is a one that targets Link's age. This one is for modifying the quest status screen. So this invisible bush that we picked up and dropped, depending on what its rotation was the value in memory that the modified fish code that it was pointing to will be. So we just modified it to take away our shadow medallion and spirit medallion, but also keeping some certain songs that we need for the run. Because if we have shadow or spirit medallion in this run, and we try to like beat the shadow and spirit bosses, the blue orbs actually never give us the medallions for them, which is a requirement for all dungeons. Gotcha. Those are the only 2 dungeons that work like that for some reason. So if they didn't work like that, that SRM would have been completely unnecessary. But since the title file gives us those automatically, it's a requirement. Gotcha. Now this is the SRM that changes our age, but it changes our age in a way where we don't reload the actor. So you can sort of like see Link floating above the ground, and his like limbs are glitched because it's trying to do the adult model on top of the child's body. And so like you can see the bottle is now like a skull mask. His hands are missing. It's just like, it's really funny.
It's like haunted or cursed. I love that.
Yeah, it's super cursed. We usually just call him man-child because it's half child, half man state. And then we're still able to control him fully in the Wii PC version. On 64 it crashes. Okay. But fortunately the VC version is much more forgiving with how we abuse the game. We're doing another SRM here. This one's actually modifying the grotto that's in this room. And we're modifying it to point to a specific spot in memory so that whenever we enter the grotto, the link ends up warping to a place depending on what his facing angle is. We make where it's supposed to look in memory look all the way where Link's facing angle is. So anytime Link either reloads this place, or if he sets 4 rays wind here and tries to go back to it, he'll always warp to a place depending on what his facing angle is. So this is actually Spirit Temple, but we're in the front room. A different room is loaded though, so we're sort of just like in the void. Whenever the cameras swing around there, you might have been able to see the actual room that was loaded in the background. But whenever we jumped into that void there, we were able to go in there at a specific angle that whenever we voided and it reloaded the glitched entrance area, it reloaded it again based off of Link's angle, and we had an angle for the Lost Woods. So now we're back in the Lost Woods. We're doing more SRMs. And then this SRM specifically is going to be so that we can perform Bottle Adventure, which is complicated, but basically it's so we can put Furore's Wind on the B button, because that'll be useful for doing cutscene skips and wrong warps later on in the run.
So you're remapping the controls of the game using SRM?
Yeah. Well, so this Bottle Adventure can be done without SRM, but this SRM setup is much faster than doing it normally.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so once we get Furore's Wind on B, then we can start our warps, because normally you can't use Furore's Wind outside of dungeons, and putting it on B will let us use it outside of dungeons, which is the big thing. And then we can start warping with Furore's Wind to places based off of Link's angle, and we're just going to chain all of the dungeons back to back now that all the setup is done.
Wow. That's crazy. That's actually absurd.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot to it.
How long from like inception of this boomerang SRM to finding more and more or finding ways to implement it? How long from finding the boomerang to this? How long did that take from idea to practical practical use?
I think SRM was late 2019. Like November-ish, I think. Wow. That's whenever Glitches and stuff found it. And since we have a really competent team of folks in the OT Discord that know their way around things, we were able to start coming up with applications for it fairly quickly, starting out with Pot Chest and Zelda's Letter Gim. Pot Chest being in Goron City, and that pretty much allowed us to get any item we wanted. And then Zelda's Letter SRM, also another way to get any item we wanted. That one was in Deku Tree, and we sort of like came up with less and less intensive and easier to do setups with time until we were able to pretty much write items directly to our memory and give ourselves like, if you've seen F boots in 100% SRM where ZFG is flying around with zero gravity everywhere, it just blossomed. Oh yeah, it's really cool. The current 100% SRM record it's a blast to watch. But yeah, it sort of just blossomed really quickly into a bunch of crazy stuff. Yeah, so and then this route I think was done, I'd say about a year later. It was pretty finalized, give or take a couple months. I can't remember. But since then, we've still had a couple new things, like Light Node SRM, which is another more powerful SRM that we've been using to do some stuff even faster than we did before. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. It's also very broken, which is why we have no SRM categories to go along with it. Everyone has their own opinion on what it means to beat the game, or what their own ideas are. And so there's different categories to suit everyone's like personal definition of what it means, whether it be glitchless, restricted, or any percent. There's a run for everyone out there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know that was a huge split, or not like in a dramatic way, but just like, what does this mean for runs and whatnot. So yeah, it's been cool to see how the Ocarina of Time community has been able to adapt to that over time in a way that accommodates everyone. I think like with this whole entire idea, I think it's even cooler though in that it's not just like one person. Like you are one of a huge community of people that are, as you said, competent, but also just super creative. Like there's so many things about glitch hunting I think goes underappreciated, and I think the biggest part about it, at least in my opinion, is how creative the applications are. Like I don't think my brain would. I mean, it's hardly wrapping it around right now as you're explaining it, but I think even more so from an idea standpoint, it's like it's not just figuring out how to read code or execute code arbitrarily in the game. It's also like, how do you even think to go there? I think that's really cool. Do you think that's like like some people are good at math, some people are good at language arts and whatnot. Do you think that it's just like a skill, like it's a computer science skill, or is it like, no, these people are like actual tech gurus outside of Ocarina of Time, and they just luckily enough started speedrunning it, and that's where it is? Or is it really like, no, anyone can get involved in this and be competent in it over time?
Oh yeah, anyone can get involved in it and start learning it. Like one of my favorite glitch hunters out there, who's Kita,
Yep.
or Kostelek is the formal name. He started out barely knowing anything about computers,
Wow.
and through the glitch hunting and like learning how to look into memory in Majora's Mask and all that stuff, he was able to pick up a lot of really, really good skills, and now he has a development job, just like
Wow.
a regular development job, just through all of the work from that he learned starting out with glitch hunting and Majora's Mask. So it's something anyone can get into.
What would you say like the best place to start is? What would you like? And not just for Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, but like any game. Where would you say? Like, would you say like find a way to decompile the game, or just
Ask questions.
ask questions? Gotcha.
Ask questions. Join the community. Ask questions, and that's how you start learning. Absolutely. Of course, like depending on what game it is and what platform, it's going to be a little bit specific. Your mileage may vary,
Right.
but asking questions is going to be the number one way to get started.
Yeah. And so with that, give us an insight in how you got started, both glitch hunting, but also like just speedrunning in general. Where does your journey start with that?
Oh goodness. I actually speedran a little bit of Melee before I got into Ocarina of Time.
Like
I used to
adventure
do a little bit of an adventure mode.
Gotcha.
Break the targets mostly.
Okay.
I actually had the Link world record for a couple months. Because we were able to develop a strat that beat a 14-year-old strategy.
Wow.
By a couple of frames. It sort of lowered what the best possible time was, and I was able to squeeze out another frame of that before someone else was able to get it a couple months later. And then I also did actually do some development in the All-Stars speedrun.
Okay.
I did some research into how RNG works for Melee and came up with a program that lets you deterministically figure out what your RNG seed is, and by using that information, tell you how to manipulate it so that you can get a lineup of characters that will get you a potentially good time in the All-Star speedrun. That was sort of like what I started out with, like relative to speedrunning, but then there was sort of a lull. And then in like mid 2019, I had been watching Torje do a lot of Ocarina of Time speedruns for what is now Defeat Ganon. Used to be any percent
Gotcha.
with the Ganon, which was a Ganon door where you'd go into the Deku Tree and go to the final collapse sequence. That was the big route for quite a while. But I loved watching him do those speedruns, and after about a year or so of watching him do that, I was like, okay, this looks like something that I want to learn.
Yeah.
So I joined the Discord, started asking questions, started watching people learning tricks, and then I got a couple of runs in after 2 months or 3 months. And then SRM was found, and I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. I was like, okay. I didn't really quite know what was going on since I didn't know the Ocarina of Time internal ecosystem. So for the first couple of months, I just sort of listened and watched and tried to pick up what was going on.
Gotcha.
And then once I had a better understanding of how Ocarina of Time worked and how the tech that we were working with worked, then I was able to start applying what I know best into what we had, and start being able to contribute to developing SRM strats and stuff further. And then from there, that's just how it sort of took off. Eventually, I actually figured out a route for beating the game faster on GameCube, which involved calling the movie file directly. So I don't know if you know this, but on the GameCube version,
yeah,
whenever the credits switch, get about halfway through the credits, it switches over to a movie file on the game on the disc.
Interesting.
Because our theory is that the music desyncs over time if you were to play it normally, and so that their quick fix around it was by playing a movie file instead. And so by using SRM, though, we are able to run an instruction that forces the game to play that movie directly. And it's really funny because from a technical standpoint, perspective from a technical standpoint, it's sort of like if you were to close out Project 64 and open up VLC. And that's basically what we're doing in that run. And that lasted for a whole, I think, one run before the next route was found. So GameCube got to have that route for, I believe, I think it was one run.
Wow.
And then it was just the landscape was changing so fast with SRM at that point.
Yeah.
It was from the very beginning with 64 Ace, and then it turned into SRM, and then Ace again, and then back to SRM. And you can do arbitrary code execution through Ace, but but SRM is not Ace inherently. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
so much going on.
I feel like a lot of the older N64 games are in kind of a renaissance in terms of how much even games that feel really cemented and static, like Mario 64. I just feel like a lot of the 64 games are getting, I don't know if it's new attention or just new ideas, but I just feel like over the past I don't know year and a half, they've just have completely changed in what they look like. And I remember a Twitter conversation that you had with somebody. They were like, this is the last minute barrier that we'll ever break, and you responded to it saying, no, it's definitely not. And,
oh yeah, and then so I had a bet with Mr. Cheese whenever we got sub 8. That was huge. Sub 8 was huge.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Cheese was like, "Oh, we're not going to see another minute." And I was like, "You want to make a bet? $100. It'll happen within the next 5 years." And then it happened 6 or 7 months later or something. It was pretty funny. But we're pretty confident that this is the real last minute barrier.
Interesting.
No promises, but given everything we currently know, it doesn't look like it's possible to be any faster. But I mean, we might be eating our words in another year or two.
Right.
We'll see.
Right. What do you think's gonna happen when, like, okay, so like all these new tricks have been found and whatnot? What happens when it gets so optimized that it's like pretty much just saving frames at that point? Like the original Mario Brothers. Like what happens to the community? What happens to running? Where does the focus shift in your opinion about what's next?
Well, I don't think that any of the categories are really optimized to that point.
Really?
I don't
Okay.
think they will be for a long time.
Mm.
And even if we were to find nothing new from now until the rest of history,
Hmm.
there'll always be people trying to push the time lower, beat old records, and of course, the striving to get a record isn't always folks' goal whenever they pick up speedrunning. It's
Yeah.
usually just to challenge themselves, get their own times down, have a good time, just work on a skill,
Yeah.
and then be in a community of people around this game that they enjoy.
Mm.
There's a lot of things that you can get out of a speedrun and a speedrun community just besides despite the fact, or despite if the current world record was quote unquote unbeatable.
Right. And so going with that, I definitely feel that in terms. I run Sonic Unleashed for the Wii, which has one other runner because it's not the most popular game. And that one runner is awesome. I love him. He's such a good guy. But I started running other games because I just want to like talk to people. Like that's pretty much it.
Oh yeah.
And so I started running Sonic Adventure. I'm a huge Sonic fanboy. Always will be. Die by his games. And yeah, I think the idea of having community, I think it changes it. It changes the game from because for Unleashed, it's like a bunch of people ran it 7 years ago, and then it's not been active since. And so it's just like you got to beat the times. That's in my head. It's complete perfectionism. I'll spend hours save stating stuff because I'm just I want to beat all these old times because they're probably unoptimized. And with Sadex, it's been a completely different focus. I've just been hanging out and talking to people and making friends. And so, and going with that, I think there is something interesting. You just recently moved from the States to Sweden, and how has that move been? How has that transition been?
Well, first of all, I'm very fortunate in that I can make the move. To begin with. I don't really have any hard ties to the United States. I don't have a bunch of stuff that I would have needed to bring with me.
Gotcha.
So I was sort of able to just pick up myself and just go here. And then since then, there's been some changes. The first changes you'll notice from a move from the United States to Sweden is the time zone difference, of course.
Of course.
The people that you normally talk to aren't online until 2 p.m. or whatever.
Right.
But then the European folks that you normally talk to, they don't go to bed at 5 p.m. or whatever. Right. So you get to talk to them all night.
Yeah.
So you sort of your focus on who you talk with at what times shifts to match. And then the culture is, I would say, the culture change was not that much of a shock for me. I'd say the differences between American and Sweden, from day-to-day life, isn't that much different. You sort of just do your thing, and unless you're a big extrovert, then it's not there's much change going on.
Gotcha.
I mean, I just wake up, I do work, and then I get online at the end of the day and either speedrun or hang out online, talk to friends, work on a project or whatever. It doesn't change too much.
Gotcha.
An unexpected thing that I wasn't really ready for was the lack of fast food available.
Really?
Because yeah, America, you can get fast food around every single corner.
Yeah.
Always available, easy access, and it's just not nearly as available here, and it's much more expensive. Not that it's a bad thing, though. I mean,
Right.
it's probably a blessing in disguise because now I'm cooking a lot more at home,
Yeah.
saving money that way, and it's more healthy in general.
Right.
Uh, but it was interesting. Like I ate fast food so often in the United States that
Yeah.
like cutting it cold turkey without realizing that it was like something that I like relied on was so weird, because it was like I can't just get fast food right now. I
Right.
have to make food. And yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. But I recently, well, not recently, but about 2 years ago, I got married, and my wife, her family never ate out. And so when I got married, and my family only eats out. My mom tried to cook for us. We didn't eat it, and she was like, "Screw this. We can just go eat out. Y'all can choose what you want." And so when I got married, though, that's not what happened. So I've had to figure out how to cook and make things. Also, did you just kill the boss underneath the lava?
Oh yeah, so a thing about the Farore's Wind warps with your angle. Whenever you set Farore's Wind
Yeah.
in a specific spot, whenever you angle warp those coordinates of the one map you set it to the new map, it just sticks you at those same coordinates. So the Farore's Wind was set at Baronade's boss room entrance coordinates, and then whenever I warped to the glitched angle entrance with those coordinates, you appear underneath Vivalgia's stage, and you're able to just poke her to death, so that you can just hit her once here and she's dead.
That's crazy. That's crazy. One of the people in chat were they just had their mind blown by that. So just had to point it out. I was like, I didn't even notice. Yeah. It makes sense. So would you say like the majority of your community then is still online and whatnot, and that hasn't changed? Just how it interacts, like time stuff has changed.
Yeah. I've been online, terminally online
Yeah.
for the majority of my life, I would say.
Yeah.
Except in the case of Melee, which is a primarily in-person type of like community and
Right.
just a deal in general, because the only way to play it back then was in person. You had delay-based netcode, but it felt awful to play.
Yeah.
So I did have that in-person community whenever I was at University of North Carolina in Asheville.
Okay.
And so that was most of my IRL like interactions, but I still had a strong online presence then as well. So the transition to mostly online, like since the pandemic, was no issue. It felt pretty natural.
Yeah.
There is a Melee community up here as well.
Oh, really?
And we've met a couple times, but unfortunately, COVID is sort of still preventing things from happening as frequently as we would like. So still waiting that out. The in-person will be nice again whenever that happens. But like I said, I'm pretty okay with not always being online. I mean, not always. I'm pretty good at getting by without offline.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's been it's definitely interesting because I want to see the homies, right? Like that's something I just always prefer. But yeah, but it's definitely been an adjustment. I was gonna ask though about Sweden's COVID situation, how if it was different from the US or if it's kind of similar, but I guess you kind of solved that. I really hope at some point it just, I don't know, it's not gonna magically go away, but I don't know what it is. There's so many things, so many factors to what's going on, and really the biggest thing is that people just need to stop being dumb about some things. So it's frustrating, but I don't know. Hopefully by the end of this year, things are able to be accessed again at some point, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows at this point?
Yeah, who knows, right? Yeah, but yeah, I'm wanting to like at some point soon here like find a way out of America because things are not going great here. I don't know if you've like been in touch with anything going on here, but it's like it's getting weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely changed a lot. Since the past couple
If you have any European ancestors, there's a couple countries that let you get citizenship through your great grandparents. So
Oh man.
you got a little bit of research to do if you might want to see if you can get an easy way out. Otherwise, the primary way is usually through a job where a company will sponsor your residency, and then you stick there for 5 to 8 or some amount of years, and then you're able to get permanent citizenship, and then from there you're able to either naturalize or and like get dual citizenship, or just keep the permanent residence and stick it out. That's sort of what I'm planning on doing, staying over here for 5 years, eventually getting permanent residency, applying for citizenship, and then seeing if I want to stick it out in Sweden or maybe move somewhere else in the EU. I don't know. We'll see. Still many years away.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah. How do you even make years 5? Like, make plans 5 years out?
You don't.
Yeah, you don't. I've tried so many times, and it's just like, nope, no. Yeah, I was supposed to be in grad school right now, and then that's why we moved. That's why we moved to Portland originally, and then it just didn't work out financially, and so we just are here now. Yeah, plans are funny. But speaking of plans, what would you say like your future plans now are with speedrunning and Melee or just esports, e-world in general? I don't know if that's a thing, but e-world.
For speedrunning, I want to get, I think, top 3 and glitchless unrestricted. Okay. Eventually see how, and then after that, if like evaluate, do I want to keep pushing it or am I good there? Maybe move on to something else. For Melee, that's been on the back burner mostly. It's sort of just something I do every now and then. And then I've still never been to a speedrunning convention.
Yeah.
So ESA, which is happening next month, is going to be my first one I've ever gone to. And I'm going to be doing the Brawl demo that a lot of people got really upset about.
Yeah, what's up with that? Why did everyone get upset about that? That made no sense to me.
It's because normies found it.
Yeah. IGN found it.
Yeah, IGN found it, and through IGN, a bunch of normies found it. And everyone has their idea of what it means to beat the game, right. And they don't realize that speedrun communities have their own definitions aside from what they believe it means to beat the game. And because it doesn't meet their expectations of what it means to beat the game, they sort of disregard any sort of input that went into what it took to create that route and like to execute it. It's interesting. It's really, it lets you sort of peek into the minds of these people.
Yeah. Did that like impact you at all? Like did that like upset you, or were you just like, yeah, it's normies?
No, I thought it was funny. I was enjoying it. Like whenever I saw IGN post it, I was like, oh, this day is going to be wonderful. And I just spent the entire day just scrolling through a bunch of really upset people. It was great.
Oh no, it sounds really fun. Or yeah, I don't know. For me, I'm like such a softie. I think I would probably start crying, but I'm glad that you had fun with it. Yeah, I think it's so cool too. I wish, I'm not like enlisting anyone right now, but it's when you play a game that is not as popular or as looked into from knowledgeable people, you don't realize how much work, but also how much love goes into just finding glitches, and even beyond that, just finding out how the game works. Like there's something about unraveling a game that makes you fall in love with it in a different way that you really can't. I don't know. You can't really put it into words. I've definitely been explaining that or experiencing that with my light little bit of exploring of code and which like I'm a baby at these things. I'm like reading on like I'm watching videos on YouTube and trying to figure out how to do these things, but and it's not going well. But we'll take what's.
Well, I mean,
take time.
You don't need to be like a coding genius to know that you can maybe like poke at a wall enough times to get through it or something.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people that'll just like they don't know like the inner like mechanics of OOT like from a coding perspective,
Yeah.
but they're able to sort of intuitively feel out how different stuff might work based off of other existing tech and combine it to create new setups and find new stuff. So it's like you don't even need to like I said, you don't need to understand it from a coding perspective to really dig into the game.
Yeah.
There's other approaches that work just fine.
Hmm.
But like back to what you were saying earlier, where it's like a new way to enjoy the game by
Yeah.
speedrunning.
Yeah.
Like that's usually what happens is someone will really like a game casually. They'll play it a lot and they're like, wow, that was great. I want to experience this again, but in a whole new way. And speedrunning is a great way for that because there's established communities, established methodologies, established software like live splits and stuff, and speedrun.com for leaderboards. There's the infrastructure around the whole idea of speedrunning that gives everyone who really likes a game a platform to enjoy it on a whole new level. And it becomes something that they can work towards consistently. They can work on their ability to execute as a skill. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I've been speedrunning now for I'll be a year in March or April, I forget. And my first speedrun was any percent for Unleashed, and it was 5 hours long, which is really really bad. Really bad. But I mean, I was so proud. I was so proud of the fact that I beat the game in one day. I was just like, wow, I can't believe it. It just got me hooked. And so, yeah, anyone listening that's like, I don't know if I should ever get into speedrunning. I don't have the time commitment. You don't need to be top to have fun with it. It's just fun because of, I don't know, there's something just fun about that personal gratification. So
yeah, I mean, like a lot of people, like you're saying, like your first speedrun was 5 hours. You're excited to be like faster than a day.
Yeah.
A lot of people, whenever they play these games casually, it takes them weeks or months.
Oh,
and so like that relative difference of like I can beat everything that just took me months, like in less than a day.
Yeah.
And then it's like that's crazy. And then like from there, it's like this took me a couple hours, and it's like, but now there's categories that let you beat it in a couple minutes too. And it's like that's crazy. The levels of playing a game, like from your first playthrough, you really get to love the lore, like the direction, the art, and then you start to enjoy it on a different level where it's a skill that you work on. You get to learn it through a community. There's a like that friendship and just like community building.
Yeah.
And there's so many factors to it. You can go on and on for so long about it.
Yeah, totally. I there's so many more questions I want to ask you, but because we're kind of coming near the end of this also really short run, which is cool. I did want to ask you, this is a topic that I want to really bring up into the show and in talking to people about. It was actually something that we talked about, me and my small little chat. I love my small little chat, but talked about yesterday.
Small chat.
Hi, small chat. Is just about being a good neighbor and in terms of people who have different thoughts and beliefs and orientations than you. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about, both as I also explained to my chat, as I've been exploring and figuring out about myself in terms of what is gender and what is that, what would you say, like, how has your journey been in that? Just as a perspective for people that may not understand what non-binary identification is. How would you say that works, and also how you found yourself there?
Yeah. So like if you look at my stream and my webcam in the bottom right, you'll see they, them.
Yeah.
And those are pronouns regarding like singular they, which you can use to identify people who would rather not be referred to with he, him, or she, her.
Yeah.
the two binary pronouns that we see in the primary like the primary population.
Mm.
And so for me personally, I prefer using they them because I don't really feel myself associated with either male or female gender. I don't like the connotations of what is implied whenever you use he, him, which is I was born as a male, and I do present masculine. I don't really try to hide it, and like I act like I don't know, like you would just like a cool dude or whatever. But for me, I don't really, like I said, I don't really like the connotations and implications of like referring to someone as a male.
Yeah.
I don't feel like those ideas that come to mind really apply to me. But but I also am a little adverse to they them actually, because it does sort of like imply these non-binary vibes. Whether it be like the like whether it's intentional or not, because it is such like a new idea.
Yes.
Like within the past couple decade or two, that whenever people hear this person uses they them pronouns, like they still get an idea of what like what comes to mind, and it's like NB vibes, I guess is a way to put it. And whatever that comes up to, like what that person's personal idea of like that kind of person is, that they'll still have these preconceived notions. But I prefer those over to the notions of he, him.
Makes sense.
And so that's sort of where I am at with that right now. Ideally, it would be sort of, I mean, ideally we'd be using a language where that just doesn't exist at all. So there'd be no connotations. Like, for example, in Finnish, that's just not a thing at all.
Really?
Like, you refer to all people using the same pronoun.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so like it's not like they, them in Swedish. I mean, not Swedish. In Finnish, it's just you refer to this person as pronoun, and there's no connotation of gender.
Wow.
That's ideal. If people want to, like, ideally, I actually prefer no pronouns, and just rather people use my name. But that does throw a wrench in like spoken language, and you do have to rethink how you structure a sentence so it doesn't sound repetitive or weird.
Right.
And I don't like making people go through that, so I'm just like, yeah, just use they, them. It's fine. I don't mind.
Right.
And plus, it's like if someone has a problem with they, them, then I probably don't want to associate with them in the beginning. So it also acts like it's a filter. So it's fine.
This is a really personal question, and so you do not have to answer this, but there's something that I've been thinking about, because as I've explored this, I've been thinking about it to myself, and like what comes to my mind is like, yeah, I could definitely do that. I could say that I don't associate with male gender. Problem is, my family does not. Well, they know I have a Twitch, but they do not watch any of my content or anything like that. I think my mom would actually die if she saw me say the F word as many times as I do on a stream. But there is that aspect of it where I'm like I want to explore this about myself, but my family is there, and I don't want to make things weird between us. And how have you navigated that? If you are willing to answer that, I don't want to.
Oh yeah. My parents, very Catholic. They would probably, I don't even know, that they don't know.
Gotcha.
I'm never going to tell them.
Gotcha.
Well, it is not worth it to me to try to explain that to them. Or like even my siblings, I have just not even bothered.
Gotcha.
I interact with them a couple of times a year.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they're my family. I don't really, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to like stress that relationship with them by with this. I
Yeah.
mean, it's of course if someone really needs that validation,
Right.
and their family calling them with wrong pronouns or identifying them in a way that they're not comfortable with, if that is really important to someone, then they obviously should try to get their family to become receptive with it. If that way they're able to sort of feel more comfortable about themselves in those environments.
Right.
But for me, I'm able to separate myself enough from it to where I just don't mind it. I mean, I do mind it, but I don't care enough about it to where I'm going to try to put in the effort to try like change them.
Yeah.
My parents, I'm like, yeah, there's absolutely no way they would call me with they them ever.
Right.
My younger sister is the only person that has said anything to me about that. She actually walked up to me last time we were hanging out together during Christmas when I visited the United States, and she was like, I'm going to try to use your pronouns more often. I never said anything to her about it. And I was like, it's okay. It's fine. No one else here is going to ever bother.
Right.
But I was like, thank you anyways. Pretty sure my brothers would never bother. My other sister probably would. I do have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Pretty big family.
Yeah.
But it's just like I do not think it is worth it trying to push that in the family side of my life.
Yeah.
The rest of my life is plenty big enough for me to sort of disregard that part.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's probably where I will land eventually. I think it's a little bit weird though, because my family is on my social media as well, so I don't know how that will go. But yeah, it'll be a weird navigation.
I'm fortunate enough to where my family is not I guess competent enough to know how to find me on Twitter.
Yeah.
My parents at least.
Yeah. 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 I think my dad is actually more social media knowledgeable than I am at this point, so I don't know what's going on. But
oh wow.
Yeah, I have those type of parents. I love them. They're amazing. But yeah, they love their gadgets. Anyway, all that to say we've come to the end of our of the runs. Both are amazing. It's so impressive, and it's been a joy to have you on the show. Is there anything else that you want to say or leave us with? Where can we find you if we're wanting to find you?
You can find me on twitch.tv/savestate, youtube.com/savestate, twitter.com/savestate. I think that's it. Those are the 3 that I do.
Sweet.
But y'all, please follow, subscribe, Speck for putting this together.
Thank you.
Obviously, it's been a wonderful experience, and they put on a great production. So make sure to follow, subscribe, all that stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun journey so far. And it's been a fun experiment. Speedrunning content is such a new horizon that has been going on for the past, I think, like probably 2 years. I think Summoning Salt kind of has been the harbinger of it, and so just trying to follow in like this, like it's more than times. It's more than just playing a game fast. There's something more to it, and finding a way to capture that essence. I think that's something that all of us want to do, because it means that much to us. So yeah, but thank you for the shout out. And yeah, that concludes this episode. Thank you everyone for watching. Business I will handle in the intro. I write a monologue before every intro, so I will handle business in the monologue. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful night, evening, morning, whatever your time zone is giving you right now. Time is all relative, so let's just all deal with that together. But have a good one. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. You as well. Bye.